Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda, and we are here with Functional Training Zones podcast, The Uncommon Connector. Today, we will be talking to Steve Connelly. He is the Deputy Secretary for the Maryland Department of Agriculture, and we're really excited to dive in and learn about him, his background, and what the Maryland Department of Agriculture does and how it affects all of the residents of Maryland. Thank you very much.
There is no one else in creation like you. There's nobody like you. And what you've come to do and what you have to offer is like no other.
Okay. So, Steve, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do and how you became the deputy secretary?
Well, my background is I grew up on a dairy farm here in Maryland. I've been involved with agriculture most of my life. I have a real interest in the policy side of agriculture. It's sort of how I got involved with the organizations that I have worked for, including twice at the Maryland Department of Agriculture. I also work for Maryland Farm Bureau, USDA, and the Maryland Ag Education Foundation. So I've been involved in my life in kind of the ag policy area of Maryland agriculture.
Wow. Okay. So you said you grew up on a dairy farm. Where was the dairy farm located in Maryland?
Yeah, was in Rising Sun, Maryland, which is in Cecil County. It was a multi-generational farm. Uh, I started milking cows when I was 12. I couldn't wait to start milking cows. But by the time I was in college, I kind of have decided I wanted to do something else besides milk cows the rest of my life. Um,
Okay. Okay. How long have you worked in this industry in terms of the industry of agriculture? Well, I guess all your life, huh?
yeah, I mean, I grew up, feeding calves and taking care of the chickens and helping in the garden when I was a little kid. So I've been pretty involved in production agriculture, at least in the beginning of my life. I really lived a kind of a blessed childhood, to be honest.
That's awesome. And where did you study? Where did you go to school?
I graduated from the University of Maryland College Park in the College of Agriculture. I received a bachelor's degree in agriculture and resource economics. That's kind of the part of agriculture I was always interested in is how do you make money?
Okay. And are there any other courses or certifications you would advise someone to take now that's interested in this field to better equip them for this job?
Um, well, it probably would help if they had a master's degree, which I don't have. I have a lot of experience, but I think that for younger folks now, having a master's degree would be helpful. I do think, though, if they're, in their teenage years, they ought to really think about belonging to some organizations such as 4-H, which is part of the University of Maryland's extension service programs. And they have 4-H programs, clubs all over the state of Maryland, both in urban, suburban, and rural settings. And also, if you're going to high school, there's some really good schools that have good FFA programs that help people focus on agriculture, the agricultural career.
You mentioned 4-H. Could you elaborate on what like the 4-H program is, and how I know that you are not here to sponsor 4-H, but if somebody is a young person and they wanted to get involved in agriculture, what does 4-H
Well,
involve and
4-H,
entail?
yeah, well, 4-H has a club structure through the University of Maryland, and you can take on a lot of different projects. If you wanted to go to, say, show animals or plants or your art or home ec skills at a county fair, you could be in a 4-H club where you can learn how to do that. You get training. You also learn public speaking. You learn how to work with people in a group. It's really a great club for people um, to to develop leadership skills. So I think that 4-H is a great opportunity um, for younger folks to get some skill sets and also to learn a lot about agriculture.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just wanted to have our listeners hear that as a resource. How has the industry changed since you started in the career field? You mentioned that you only have a bachelor's degree, but you would um, recommend that younger folks looking to get into the industry would get a master's. So, what are some other things that have
Yeah,
made the industry change?
sure. So I think that it's always evolving. When I grew up, there are about 1,000 dairy farms in Maryland. Now there's around 300. So things are always kind of in flux and changing. The market is what drives what we produce in Maryland based upon the demand. Um, Today's agriculture is becoming much more technology driven. If you had asked me 10 years ago if I thought that drones would be used in agriculture, and I was like, well, maybe, but I don't see how they would be used. Um, they have, in the last 2 to 3 years, they've become kind of a standard piece of equipment on farms because it's a lot more focus on precision agriculture, being able to put protectants, fertilizers, seeding for cover crops, and other best management practices have really take advantage of drones, being able to prescribe what you put down in really just treating areas uh, that need maybe more nitrogen, or they have an infestation of a mite or a bug, and it's only in a little portion of the field, but you want to be able to treat it before it gets across the whole field, or it could be some other fungus or a mildew, and it's in a little portion of the middle of the field. They can use a drone to go in and treat that small spot instead of having to spray the whole field. So there's a lot of technologies, whether it's big data to be able to crunch the data to help you increase your yields and protect your crop, and that big data can be used through GPS and also with drones to really you know do a better job on precision agriculture. And there's a lot of other things for precision agriculture that are in play. You have the ability to record your yield through a yield monitor on, very small grid samples within your farm to help you understand. Not all land is exactly the same. In a field, there might be some spots where you're deficient in some micronutrients, and it'll help you identify that. So there's just a lot of technology today that wasn't around when I was younger.
At the college, at the University of Maryland, is there, and you might not know this, but is there a specialized kind of field of study that focuses on technology and agriculture that you would recommend even folks that perhaps have graduated a long time ago should go back and kind of revisit, or maybe not at, we're not advertising in any way, the University of Maryland, but because you went there as an alumni, you might have some kind of recommendation for individuals that want to really study technology in agriculture. What are some resources to them to hone in on those fields that would help further them along in
I,
that
that's
study?
that's really a good question. I think that the University of Maryland For one of the ways that they transfer the technology and information to farmers is through the Cooperative Extension Service. They have regular agronomy days through the off season, usually in the late fall and winter when farmers may not be out in the field. They'll have agronomy days where they'll have guest speakers come in and talk about it, as well as professors from the University of Maryland talking about their research and transferring that information to the farmers. The agronomy program is there. There's a couple different programs at the University of Maryland. There's a 2-year Ag Institute that is really focused more on hands-on type projects to train people to be job ready when they walk out the door, and then they have the more of the educational program for the 4-year college, and really have some top-notch folks there. And I'd just like to mention also the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. It's also a land grant university. It's an 1890 college, which has its own extension program, and they're doing a lot of good work down there. They do a lot of international work, and they're helping trying to transfer some of that information to smaller farmers in other countries to help them be more viable and self-sufficient.
Okay, so for all of our Marylanders that are born and bred in Maryland, homegrown, all right, I moved to Maryland in my 20s, but like my kids, they love it here. They love the state of Maryland. They were born here. My daughter rides horses here. She would be one of those people that early on, I could tap her into the 4-H club so that she is interested in agriculture. She is interested in all things Maryland through the 4-H club and through the University of Maryland. She could then start her career not early, but know of programs in a way that would further her along um, in her education.
Absolutely correct. And the equine industry is a very large industry in Maryland. I think there's over 40 different disciplines. We have both thoroughbred and standardbred harness racing. We have some really big eventing opportunities, all the way to high school rodeo and trail riding. So there's a lot in the equine uh, industry in Maryland. And one little fact that most people don't know, there are more horses per acre in the state of Maryland than any other state in the nation. We have over 100,000 horses in the state of Maryland. We're a relatively small state. There's other states that have a lot more horses than we do, but per acre, we have more than any other state. And
My
it's,
daughter actually told me that. She told me that
well, she's telling
The
you the
state,
truth.
yeah, the state horse of Maryland is the thoroughbred. So now she's hot to get a thoroughbred, and I'm like, that's just so much horse for her at 12 years old. But she wants a thoroughbred. So
Well, you need to get her in one of the 4-H pony clubs because they do a lot of fun things.
well, she does ride ponies now. She's been riding ponies for years. So she does compete in Upper Marlboro
Okay.
at the Maryland Equestrian Center for their summer series. But a thoroughbred is just a lot of horse for her.
Yeah. And just so you know, October is Maryland Horse Month, and we have some really big events that take place in October in Maryland. And one of those will take place at the Prince George's County Equestrian Center. That's the Washington National Horse Show. It is world renowned. We also have the Maryland Million, which is the weekend prior to that at Laurel Park, where we showcase Maryland thoroughbreds and in racing. it's a great event. And the week prior to that is the Maryland Five Star, which is a worldwide event that it's for eventing. They do a cross country run, dressage, and some other horsemanship competitions. It There are seven of these sanctioned events in the world. There's only two in the United States, and one of them happens to be at Fair Hill, Maryland. So we have one of the world's best eventing venues in here
That
in the
is
rural state of Maryland.
that is awesome to hear. I'll definitely look into those. We do go to the Washington International Horse Show every year. We've been going since my daughter was probably 4 or 5 years old. Um, we go on barn night. So I am familiar with that. We do go on bar night. It used to be in DC at the Capitol Arena, but now it is in Upper Marlboro. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. We will be there this year. So
Mhm.
we are excited as a family to support her. Um, and we do go to that. Question. So we're talking about agriculture a lot, and now we've veered off into equine. In the state of Maryland, you mentioned that a lot of folks do have horses. What does that process look like? Could I just buy a horse and throw it on my property since Maryland is so horse friendly and so equine friendly?
Um, yes, you could potentially do that, but you're going to need to, have your property zoned properly from the local level that'll allow you to have a horse on your property. Um, that's usually the first challenge, and then you're going to have a way to enclose them. So you're going to have some fences up, and you're going to have shelter and water for them. They have to have proper humane care. And once you get the horse, then you're going to start spending real money because you're going to have a farrier to make sure that you're taking care of its hooves and horseshoes, and you're going to need to buy bedding and hay and horse feed, and probably have to have a veterinarian to make sure that you're properly checking the horse. And if you take the horse across state lines, you're going to have it inspected by a veterinarian so that you have the proper paperwork to be able to move it around. So there's a lot to horse ownership. It's like having any other pet, like a dog. You have to properly take care of them. But yeah, you could do that, but there'll be a few steps you'd want to take. And I would check to make sure you're allowed to by zoning ordinance in your county, because every county is a little bit different.
Okay, every county is a little bit different. Thank you. That's super important. Another thing I wanted to ask you is about chickens. The price of eggs has gone up substantially, and a lot of friends of mine say, "Well, I'm just going to go to Tractor Supply and go buy some chickens."
Yep. Well, that has happened. We've had an explosion of backyard chicken flocks across the state. We do require at the Maryland Department of Agriculture, if you have a backyard flock, that you register it with the Maryland Department of Agriculture. It's free. It's so that if there's a disease outbreak, that we can be communicating with people close to a disease outbreak, so that they can follow good biosecurity, so their chicks and ducks don't get infected also.
Okay. Thank you for saying that because, me and my girlfriends, we talk about these things all the time, and it just seems so easy to buy these cute, cuddly chickens at Tractor Supply. They make it so easy to purchase. But thank you for letting us know that we do need to register with, the Department of Agriculture for the state of Maryland.
Yeah, and we've had with the highly pathogenic avian influenza, we've had some unfortunate infections in the state of Maryland since 2022. And that really, I think, has been one of the major reasons why egg prices were so high, was that this is a very deadly and very contagious disease to chickens. And we've lost a lot of chickens because of it. We have a pretty strong response working with our neighboring states of Delaware, Virginia, and also with USDA. We just recently had a backyard flock in Anne Arundel County that became infected. Um, it's unfortunately the virus has infected the wild bird population, and it's in the environment, and we just have to continue to encourage our backyard flock owners as well as our commercial growers to use good biosecurity and be careful not to allow your chickens to come in contact with birds in the outside, and also make sure that got you're sanitizing your shoes before you go into the production areas with your chickens.
Thank you for those tips. I appreciate that. Um, talking about we've talked a little bit about horses, we've talked a little bit about chickens. What would you say are some pros and cons in this field of agriculture and, your profession in general?
Well, I'll be honest, I am very pro agriculture. I kind of live and breathe it. It's been my life. So uh, I really get excited about new technologies, because and how to make things for farmers, their input costs go down, and hopefully they're increasing their ability to sell a product at a higher price. So I'm really I kind of personally focus a lot on the economics of agriculture, what it costs to produce a unit of any product. Sort of the cons for Maryland farmers is we tend to be the experiment for public policy a lot of times. We're so close to Washington, D.C., that ideas that people have get tried out in Maryland first. And a lot of times there are mandates that come for Maryland farmers that they don't really like. We're probably the most regulated agricultural industry of any other state. We have mandatory nutrient management laws where um, we limit the amount of fertilizers, nutrients that farmers allowed to use. We have pretty strong pesticide regulation laws. It's just we're fairly regulated industry in Maryland. We're able to figure out how to make it work, but other states don't have the same restrictions that some of Maryland farmers do.
What would you say is your biggest success factor in this field?
In my career, I take a little bit of pride in this. In earlier on, I worked for the Maryland Agricultural Education Foundation as their executive director. It was a nonprofit, and we always had revenue issues um, because did we functioned on donations and grants. Um, we were able to get a piece of legislation passed creating the Maryland Agricultural License Plate. It's a commemorative license plate. You've probably seen them. They have a farm scene on them. They're kind of yellow and orange looking, and that's raised a great deal of money uh, for MAFE, the Maryland Ag Education Foundation, to do programming, to do in-service training for teachers, to have mobile classrooms go to schools to teach kids about agriculture and how agriculture's, kind of in their everyday life, and just and kids, especially elementary kids, love agriculture. They love hands-on activities. They love to get their hands dirty, and we get some opportunities to do that. But the passage of the ag tag was probably the thing that I'm most proud of.
That's all. I never knew how where that license plate came about. So that's really good to know, and that you were a part of it.
Yeah.
I think
And
stands test.
I had other partners that helped us. It took a team of people in the ag community to get it done, but it's something I'm proud of that we were able to get done.
Right. No, that stands testament to your career and to your dedication to agriculture. So thank you for that. Um, right now, with what is happening politically in terms of everybody returning, all federal employees returning back to work, and um, the work the light work-life balance has definitely changed a lot in terms of what people are experiencing. How have you maintained your work-life balance through this industry?
Um, I probably haven't. Uh, uh, to be honest, growing up in on the dairy farm, you're expected to get up fairly early in the morning and work all day. So I kind of continued that practice. I'm a morning person. Uh, I usually get up at 5 in the morning. I I have about a 75-mile commute to work. So I'd like to try to beat the traffic in Baltimore. Um, I'm usually in the office by 7, and I'm usually home by 6 o'clock at night. But my children are raised. I have I like what I do at work, and my wife was very involved in the ag industry for a long time. So a lot of times we were able to go to meetings together, or so we it's worked out for my career and for her career that we were both involved in agriculture.
What advice would you give someone starting out in this field?
Number one is um, try to find a strong mentor, somebody that you can become friends with that will help advise you. Because no matter how old you are, there's stuff that you don't know. And sometimes somebody that's seasoned may know something that you're willing to share with you to help you um, uh, move forward with your career. And I was lucky; I had a couple really great mentors. They were a little crusty, little old fashioned, but uh, they were very good to me and helping me focus on, the important things.
Okay, great. Thank you. Um, what are you a member of any professional organizations? I know that agriculture does have some professional organizations or associations that you can become a part in just to keep the knowledge base being shared and known.
Um, at this time, I'm not part of any professional organizations, but I am part of several trade organizations, such as the Maryland Farm Bureau, which is a general farm organization. I've been a member for 40 years, and um, it's made up of farmers across the state that work together for a common cause. Um, Also, as an agency, we belong to NASDA, which is the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture, where we just ended the annual meeting in Rogers, Arkansas yesterday. So it brings together the different commissioners and secretaries of agriculture across the country, and we work on policy issues together. Um, Try to work with the Food and Drug Administration, USDA, EPA to make sure that the policies they're implementing work for agriculture.
Right. What's some literature that folks could read on or subscribe to in order to learn about agriculture in the state of Maryland or across the United States?
Well, there's a lot of stuff online. Today's world, agriculture hadn't hidden from the social media space. So there's uh, lots and lots of stuff on social media. There's also a lot of influencers within the uh, ag space that are out there doing YouTube videos or on different techniques or things about agriculture. My go-to really is the Delmarva Farmer, which is a trade public. It's a newspaper weekly that covers Maryland, Virginia, and Delaware, and also Lancaster Farming's a pretty good publication. It's a weekly newspaper also that covers Maryland and Pennsylvania. On the national level, Progressive Farmers, pretty good publication. Farm Journal. I do also get Politico has you can put in and type in that you're interested in agriculture, and then you can get a Google notification about things changing at the federal levels. And the University of Illinois does a very good daily publication called Farm Doc that has a lot of stuff about economics, but it also has a lot of policy information. And I like that a lot.
Great. I wanted to go back to something because a question just kind of popped in my head. When we're driving in very rural parts of Maryland, we see folks kind of on the side of the road selling watermelon and tomatoes and fruit and
Mhm.
vegetables, during different kinds times of the year. How is that kind of regulated by the Department of Agriculture, and how does that work? I mean, over the years, I think that we've gotten used to seeing those kind of roadside stands, um, and we rely on them as consumers. But I always wondered, could anybody just kind of grow a bunch of watermelons and then sell them on the side of the road?
The answer is probably yes, depending.
Okay.
So it also depends on what the local zoning will allow, where you're selling it. It also depends on if you're doing something temporary or if you have a more permanent structure. Like if you get on Route 50 towards Ocean City, you'll probably pass a dozen farm markets that are permanent structures that are so you have to follow the rules for the Department of Transportation for getting on and off the road. You have to most likely have a license from the county health department, depending on what products you're selling. If you're selling something more than just fresh produce, like if you're selling prepared foods or anything like that. Um, uh, that's pretty much it. You got to follow the zoning. You got to make sure that you're you work with the Department of Transportation to make sure that getting in and off of the highway is safe and that the food that you're selling is safe. And that's usually done by the local health department. Um, we created a new position at the Maryland Department of Agriculture 2 years ago to help farmers that want to kind of navigate the regulatory structures where they want to have an operation. So we have a person who is dedicated to working with farmers and value added folks that want to make products or sell products to help them um, go through the permitting process that they might have to go through at the local level.
You for that information. So, um, anyone that's listening to this, there is somebody at the Department of Agriculture that you could reach out to. We don't want to blast their name and then get a million emails tomorrow. But what we would like to do is how would we go about kind of
Well, I'll give you his
finding?
name. I don't mind you blasting him because that's what his job is, to help people, and he likes to help people. And his name's Martin Pro, and it's Proulx. He's a really great young man who's energetic, and he's really helped a lot of people kind of figure their way through the process of legally doing something.
Okay. So, and his email address is,
It'd be martin.proul. It's Proulx at maryland.gov.
.gov. Wow, thank you very much. That I feel like that's super helpful, and that's something that we definitely want all of our listeners to know. Um, that there is a resource at the Department of Agriculture that would help them navigate that process at the local level.
Yeah, and also most, not all counties, but most counties now have ag marketing specialists. We call them AMPs that are part of county government. They tend to be in the department, the county's economic development office that work directly with farmers and farm businesses also to try to help them because they're looking at the economic development side of uh, of farming because it's good for the community if you keep land and farms and they want to see that, and also encourage people to be able to be financially viable.
Thank you very much for that information. I definitely appreciate it. Um, okay, so let's go back to our question. We were talking about literature. You said the University of Illinois put something out, Farm Docs.
Hmm. And
So
I think
that is
it's you could just Google it, but I think it's a really simple website. It's like www.farmdoc.edu maybe.
um, can
I
you
look
tell
at
us about
at
the
it every morning just because I there's always some good information there.
there's
It's
good
mid
there's good information there
Yeah, it's
for
Midwest
agri.
oriented, but it's pertinent.
Okay, thank you. And can you think of any long-term career opportunities in this industry that we would like to tell our young listeners or just our listeners about that have always wanted to
And
get in?
absolutely, and the one that we have a great need across the country, not just Maryland, is for more large animal veterinarians, poultry veterinarians, and rural veterinarians. We have a shortage of veterinarians across the country, and we have started working with the Farm Journal Foundation and NASDA, our National Trade Association, to come up with a plan on policy recommendations for the governor and the legislature on how we can increase the number of rural vets practicing in Maryland. Um, there is the Maryland, Virginia, or the Virginia, Maryland Regional Veterinary School, where we have a certain number of slots for Maryland students. And the University of Maryland Eastern Shore is just getting ready to kick off a veterinarian school. I think their first class members may have just started this right now. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to keep some of those folks coming out of vet school in rural parts of Maryland where we have a great need for large animal vets.
So for any of our listeners that are looking for um, a career and they want to be a vet, Maryland is the place to be. The niche of being a rural vet is what is needed in agriculture with now and within coming years. So for somebody like my daughter who lives and breeds horses day in and day out, that would definitely be a career path that she could explore and a much needed one.
Yeah, and you're be very respected being a veterinarian. People really count on their vets. You know, we a lot of us have pets. I have two dogs. I know my veterinarian does pretty well from my dogs, but we also need somebody that's going to be able to work with farmers if they have, say, beef cows or dairy cows, or and some of the like with the dairy industry, some of the it's really advanced technology that's being used in the genetics collection of genetics and the sales internationally of genetics from really high quality dairy cows, and we're lucky to have some of the best breeders in the dairy industry still in Maryland. So there's some real opportunities on the veterinarian front. And if you like animals, that might be a good place to land.
So for individuals that like animals, like technology, and are interested in the sciences, large animal vets are the way to go.
Uh, you got it. You got it right. 100% right.
Thank you very much. No, we'll definitely spread the word on that one. There is a growing increase of little girls out there that love horses, that ride horses, that love agriculture, that love cows. And I will be the first one to tell them that, that is what they need to look into as they enter their college years, their, high school and college years as a career path. Um, as for you, what are your next steps in this career? I mean, it looks like you've had such a long resume in agriculture and you've been doing this for so long, but for yourself that owns such a wealth of knowledge, what are your next steps in this career field?
Well, I'm not quite ready yet, but my next step will probably be retirement. Just because I have three grandkids and I want to spend more quality time with them. I want to continue to be able to travel and experience the great things in this country and in other parts of the world. And I always work in a little agriculture no matter where I go.
Right. What would you tell your younger self 15 years ago if you could go back and or maybe for you, maybe 20 years ago and say, hey, I maybe should have taken advantage of being a a large animal vet.
Um, yeah, to be honest, I'm pretty satisfied with my career. I've been very lucky to meet a lot of great people, and that's what makes it really fun. Is some of the characters that you meet through this journey, and also the just some of the outstanding, really good people that are involved in the industry. Um, Look, could I have studied a little harder in college? Could I worked a little harder? Could I saved a little more money? Probably, but all in all, I've been blessed in my career because I've not ever had a job that I was unhappy with. Sometimes I wish I made a little more money, but um, not always.
So, for all of those listeners out there, when you work in agriculture, you never have a job that you're unhappy with. I love that. I love animals. We have two dogs. We don't own a horse, but we're very involved in the horse community, in the equine community because of my daughter's sport. And I'm just happy to hear that there is a way forward for those out there that are interested in agriculture. And we are in the seems like the number one state to do it. So I'm really, really excited about that. Could you tell our young adults why platforms like Functional Training Zone is so important, to in exploring different industries?
Well, you want to land someplace where you're going to be happy, and maybe you don't know what you want to do with life. And I think functional training should be able to help you explore a little bit. And everybody should explore a little bit. I mean, I could have ended up working in a warehouse, and I don't know if I would have been happy doing that. So it's always good to explore a little bit. And there's even within industries, there's a lot of different sectors that you just need to explore to find your niche and try to find something that's going to make you happy at the same time, make you a living.
So there's a lot of different niches inside the industry. What are some of them that could be just touched upon?
Yeah, well, our largest area in Maryland is our poultry industry. There's a lot of opportunities. It's a pretty large industry. We have five major corporations that uh, operate in Maryland. In the agronomy sector of agriculture, there's a lot of opportunities, whether working for a seed company or a company providing services for fertilizer and crop protectants. There's the equine sector where you know, there's there's a lot of different jobs in there, whether you want to be a horse breeder or a trainer or work at the track or you want to have your own horse riding stable, and that's really picked up a lot in Maryland. We, like I think I mentioned before, we have over 1,000 licensed horse riding stables in the country. I'm going to have to plug this phone in. I'm sorry.
No problem. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, as I mentioned, there's 1,000 horse farms that have riding stables that across the state, and there's you could become a farmer and run a chicken house. We've had a lot of people have worked a career, build a small business somewhere, and decide they want to be to move to a farm and raise chickens. And we have a program through the state of Maryland. I sit on their loan review committee where we help uh, get people financing so that they can buy a chicken farm. Um, there's a lot of opportunities in the forestry sector. Um, and frankly, there's quite a few opportunities within the dairy sector also. A lot of people don't know that in Maryland we have the largest ice cream manufacturer in the country. Um,
Wow, right.
yeah, and it's in the Laurel area. I think it's in Prince George's County, part of Laurel. It's called Dryers. A lot of people don't know we have North America's largest mushroom producer in Cecil County. So there's a lot of job opportunities out there, a lot of management positions out there, and the average age of the Maryland farmer right now is 59 years old. So there's opportunities for young people to get into agriculture. Um,
I do have a question that kind of hits close to home. One of our listeners, um, he has inherited a very large part of land, inherited it from his family, acres and acres and acres. And it used to be a farm, but over the years, it just hasn't been taken care of and it has deteriorated some. For all of our listeners that are now inheriting Maryland farmland from, um, previous family members that don't do farming anymore, but they want to get into farming, how do they start? Where do they go? And how do they start with the Maryland Department of Agriculture? And they have this large plot of land and they don't want to sell it and see it turn into mega mansion homes, right? But what they
mhm.
want to do is actually keep the legacy going and get back into some sort of agriculture. What would you advise that person to do?
Well, I'd be glad to talk to that person, or somebody on our staff would be glad to talk to them, that try to help them understand and also find out a little bit about what they want to do with the farmland. Whether they want to grow produce, whether they grow row crops, whether they want to grow livestock, so that we can point them in the right direction. U.S. Department of Agriculture has some uh, beginning farmer programs, and it sounds like this person may be a beginning farmer. Even though they have the farmland, if I think they would qualify as a beginning farmer and younger beginning farmer, and we would want to make sure that they are aware of those programs. Um, we also have a program in Maryland that will purchase the development rights from a farmer, so that there's an easement placed on that farm so it stays in agriculture in perpetuity. So would want to let him try to investigate one of those programs to see if that's what he would want to do, and that would give you some startup capital. We'd also, do you know what county he's in?
It's here in Southern Maryland. I want to
Okay.
say either Calvert or St. Mary's.
Okay. Well, we had also would be interested in, letting them contact Colonial Farm Credit, which is a agricultural lender that's chartered by the federal government. If he was looking for funds to do some improvements. Also, we'd want to encourage him to go to the soil conservation district in his county, because they can help him put out, depending on what he wants to do, they can help him develop a farm plan and look at and see if there's any resource needs on the farm, like if there are some places where he has erosion or he wants to do put in some waterers, and we'll help pay for some or all of that through our cost share program. So, and last but not least, I would want to put him in touch with the Southern Maryland Ag Development Corporation. They operate in the five Southern Maryland counties. They help people develop markets. They help them also sometimes buy equipment, and it helps them network with other farmers in the 5 Southern Maryland counties. And they also do some training programs. If he is going to be growing produce, you want to possibly, depending on his market, get to follow the produce safety rule. There's some different levels of training that are required, but we want to work with him to see what he wants to do, and then see if we can kind of pair him up with the resources that are out there.
Okay, great. I'll definitely pass that information along to him. So if any of our listeners are in that situation and he might be listening to this podcast, how could he who would he contact? What would he do? Where would he start? How could he contact you or somebody in your organization?
Yeah, why don't just have them send me an email, and we'll get them. I do this every day, is try to connect people to the right folks that can give them some options. So, and my email, Steve.Connelly, and that's Connelly @maryland.gov.
Thank you so much, Steve. It was such a pleasure to speak to you. There was definitely a wealth of information in Southern Maryland. There are a lot of younger generation, not farmers, but come from a farming background, and we are inheriting large plots of land, acres and acres, and we just don't know what to do with it. So I think that that's very important information to have, and something that we definitely want to pass along here at Functional Training Zone to keep agriculture just alive and flourishing in the state of Maryland on so many different facets, whether it's someone that's looking for a career in technology that would like to explore the technology base of agriculture, someone that's looking into becoming a vet, that large animal rural vets are definitely needed within the state, as well as if you're inheriting a large plot of land, what to do with it and who to contact to help you navigate on the state and local level what to do with that land. So I just wanted to thank you for all of the knowledge that you shared with us today. And I'm really excited to see all of the changes within the Department of Agriculture. I'll be keeping a close eye on it, since this is obviously close to my heart with my daughter and her equestrian journey. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it, Amanda.
Great. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Valuable commodity I know of is information. Wouldn't you agree?
I don't even know what that means.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
No, it's not.
It gets the people going.
It's your boy JR dropping them beats.